All right. So I want to thank y'all again for coming through. Everybody know I'm Marquise Morrow, and I represent the Zulu Nation, but this is not necessarily a Zulu Nation topic. This is a humanity topic. I'm having this conversation for humanity and not an organization.
My name is Shanique Bird. I am the founder and publisher of Tocsin Magazine. We discuss social justice issues across the country, and we have a lot of inmates write to our organization to write in our publication about their experiences behind bars, and we assist them with resources that they may need while they're serving their time.
My name is Martine Malavers. I am founder of Touch the Rebellion Incorporated. We teach child sexual abuse prevention and also prevention. I don't really deal with victims, but conversations like this are necessary because when we study victims and victimization, it helps us to better our preventative measures.
My name is Nathaniel Harvey, and I represent the truth.
Now, I just want to reiterate what we're going to be talking about. I'm sure everybody's familiar with the governor of New York and his alleged sex abuse.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
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 And I want to even move forward about this football player named Deshaun Watson, who's going through the same thing all of a sudden.
Right.
Is it big out there in Houston? If it's big in the news here, it got to be big out there. Correct, Martine?
It is. I actually just, I can't even say caught up, but familiarized myself a little bit with it the other day, but it's been in news over here.
All right. So what I wanted to go over is and Shanique, from our conversation, if there's anything, chime in if I forget something or if something comes to you.
Okay.
I wanted to talk about what is sexual abuse. I'm sure people have different reasons, but the law is the law. I mean, different explanations, but the law is the law. And why is it that it seems like there's a pattern? Why do women wait so long to say that this person did this to them, and then all of a sudden 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 women that come out to do the same thing? I don't think that's a coincidence. I think personally, it seems like that women get together. I'm not saying this is what happens, but it seems like they get together, they make the plans, and they say, well, this is what we're going to do. Because it can't, I think it's not a coincidence, / it's too much of a coincidence for every situation to end up the same way. So it has to be a plan. I'm not saying it is, what I mean? I'm just saying there's something fishy.
What makes you say every situation?
Okay. For instance, we started out with Bill Cosby. The women didn't say he did it to 20 years later. Now all of a sudden there's 10 women that say the same thing. You have the Bernie Madoff or whatever his name was. One woman said he did something 15, 20 years ago. Now all of a sudden 15 women are coming up. Same thing right now with Governor Cuomo. And they don't even have no proof with Cuomo, but they talking about impeaching him. And they don't even have no proof. But to continue from your question, one woman said it. Now all of a sudden 15 women are saying it. So up to 12 or 15 women are saying it. Deshaun Watson, I saw yesterday or the day before, now it's 12 people. And at the first time it was one. So you see the pattern? You see, that can't be a coincidence. It can't be. Like Junebug said, something is fishy. And I don't want to be insensitive, but something ain't right. And why when it comes to so-called sexual abuse, that you don't even have to have proof. You have to be proven guilty. I mean, you have to be proven. It's not like you're innocent until proven guilty. You're guilty until proven innocent, and that's not fair. And what is sexual abuse now? If I, like me and you was talking about, Martine and that's Bird, if I give you a compliment at work and you don't like it, that's sexual abuse?
So, according to Google, it is unlawful to harass a person or applicant or employee because of that person's sex. Harassment can include sexual harassment or unwelcomed sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, and other verbal or physical harassment of sexual nature. That's pretty broad.
And let me just expound on that. Sexual abuse is abusive sexual behavior. We all know what abuse is, right? And the thing about sexual abuse is it often involves power and authority and manipulation. Okay, that's what makes it abuse. You have child abuse, all other types of abuse. It's the same thing except sexual nature. And of course, all the things she just mentioned.
So, yeah, explain that, because that makes, when you talk about abuse, explain more of that, because that is really how the governor, because he had a position of power and he had, again, it goes back to sexual harassment, the applicant or the employee, because he is the boss, he is the superior. So that's just like what you're saying about child abuse. There is an adult who is the, what do we want to call that person? The adult, the main figure in a child's life, who has authority over that child, or some type of arrangement, or however that will work out, depending on their position in the child's life.
Right. And while you're saying, let me address this too, while you're saying every situation, you have to understand that we don't even have a clue how many rapes can even be alleged, because rape is underreported. You're starting to hear a lot more of it coming out because of the movement that's behind it. Women are not taking it anymore. But what you're talking about is specifically abuse of power, because these are high profile cases. These are powerful and wealthy men. That's why you're seeing a pattern. And these women, because of the status of these men, felt uncomfortable, felt inadequate to come forward, but now they're being empowered because of the Me Too movement and plenty of movements before Me Too. And of course, when you see somebody report something that you've been afraid to or ashamed to report, that alone is going to empower you. And you may feel guilty and you may feel obligated to validate that person as well. And if you see a person in power, okay, Cuomo, for instance, everybody's talking about Cuomo for president already, right? Imagine you being a victim. Now, I don't know what happened. I wasn't there, right? None of us were there. Nobody really knows what happened. But one thing I can say is the only thing Cuomo denied was touching anybody inappropriately. He pretty much admitted to sexual abuse and inappropriate behavior. What he said was he didn't recognize it as such. And I have to respect that, because the way our society is, it is hard, I think, to, it's even hard for me in the work that I do to actually identify sexual abuse, because there's so many things that are normalized. But if you were a victim of Cuomo, why would you want to see him become president? So to say that these women are getting together, they're colluding, yeah, they probably are. They want to get revenge, but that doesn't mean that they're lying about what happened to them.
What you got to say, Bob? Because I saw you had your hand up.
Man, this is
That's
real.
the point, though, Martine.
This is the real subject, because I'm gonna keep it real. Basically, if I have on a pair of gray sweatpants, have any of you ladies ever looked down? That's sexual abuse, according to what I'm listening to.
Well, it's only sexual abuse is if we say something or we touch you. If we look, that's not sexual abuse or harassment.
Because the young lady said he looked down her shirt. Okay, now I'm saying to myself, okay, for someone to look down your shirt must be all inappropriately open. Number one. Number two, I think we're forgetting the main point. And the main point is sexual abuse is real. I'm a victim of it. Everybody's a victim of it, but they don't want to speak on it. But it started, we can't start from the middle and try to fix it. It started when the system raped my grandmother, great-grandmother, and so on and so forth, my ancestors. That's when it started. And if we're going to make a point about it, we must go all the way back and make whom those people may be or corporations held responsible. And then everything else will fall into place regarding what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. It's a simple situation. My sisters and my daughter, you all have the power. But sexual abuse didn't just start with these 3, 4, 5 individuals. It's a problem. It's a sickness. And that sickness started when my ancestors were raped. So we must go all the way back and address that and make those who are responsible accountable for that. And then we can move forward. Because right now we're confused about what's abuse, what's not, because I mean, everybody has been lost within the 400 or 500 years of this. So we in order to fix it, we must go back to the basics and hold those accountable. And then we wouldn't have this problem. It'll be like a stop sign. You know to stop at the stop sign. Nobody don't have to tell you that. It was systematically implanted into us. So all of us have been screwed by the first sexual abuse and rape of our ancestors. That's just my...
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Bob.
Yeah, no, I'm done. That was, because, it saddens me because these women need to be heard. They should be heard. Listen, we're in the golden era, man. This is just what it is. But my sisters cannot forget about our ancestors who were raped and robbed and tortured and abused.
That's what I consider sexual assault. That's what I consider sexual assault.
Yes, come on, man. It doesn't get no worse.
Indeed.
So if we're going to hold people accountable, we have to go back to these corporations who made money off of this. We have to really, if we're going to talk about it, let's talk about it.
So S. Bird, let me ask you a question. According to the definition, I believe you said is unwanted attention. So see this, and this is part of the root why I wanted to have this conversation. It's so unfair. So if Governor Cuomo said you're looking nice today, she's having a bad day, and she didn't want it, she could turn that into sexual harassment, literally.
Right. She could try, but how far is she gonna get if she says Governor Cuomo told me I look nice today? Like, let's just be realistic. Junebug said that we don't know the definition. I did agree with one thing you said. We do need to go back, yes, but I don't agree with we don't know what sexual assault is. We do know what sexual assault.
What I mean is, I'm not saying me per se. I'm just saying it as a collectively, because because there's new things coming out now. Because like I said, I was sexual abused, but I was with it. I'm not gonna lie, I was with it, but it was still sexual abuse. How many of those are not being spoken?
So is that the difference? Is that the difference? If it's okay, if you accept it, then it's not sexual abuse?
It depends, because you have to focus on the word abuse.
It's still abuse.
If you're an adult, I'm giving an example. I don't know if this is what happened to you, but if you're an adult and you start an inappropriate relationship with a 14-year-old who may very well be aware of what's going on, and they want to have sex with you, and you have sex with them, you're abusing your maturity level, so to speak. You know it's wrong because you're older than that person, so it doesn't matter whether or not they wanted it or they were with it. Another thing, you said that this is simple. Yes, it does entail going back. I agree with that, but there's nothing simple about this, because we over here, I'm assuming we're for mildly educated people
Right.
at the lowest level, right?
Right.
And we can't even come to an understanding of it. It's not, there's nothing simple about it. It's very, very layered. Another thing you said, that the girl said that he was looking down her shirt. Who? That's coming from you, who say that you were a victim of sexual abuse. That's like a handicapped person discriminating against another handicapped person because maybe their handicap limits them more. That's called victim blaming.
No,
If a person leaves, if you're walking down the block and a person has their door open, that doesn't give you authority to go in their house and go take their things. They may have been negligent in leaving their door open, but talking about what somebody is wearing, that should not have anything to do with holding the actions of somebody who violates them accountable.
no, that's not what I meant, sister. Let me
Okay.
let me go back. All right. When I said I was sexually abused, in today's standards or wordage or as per Google, that would be sexual abuse. To me, I was having fun. I was 12, she was 17. I mean, I was with it. That's not sexual abuse to me. I was with it.
Okay. I don't think I said anything negating that, but what about the comment you made about the shirt?
Well, I mean, for her to say he looked down my shirt, I'm saying to myself, okay, for you to, I mean, we have to make sense of this, okay? We have to make sense of this because, like Marquis said, you know, it can't be to where you can say anything. I mean, eventually it's going to be, we can't say anything to no one. We're men, you're women. We flirt. I mean, we all do it. People forgetting about that. I was not there to say exactly what happened, what did not happen. I'm listening to allegations. And since I've been on this earth, people lie. They lie a lot.
How
and
you feel, Bert?
I've learned that. So when I hear allegations, you know, I don't just take it to face value. I'll say, well, wait a minute. I know I was at the club and I saw Michelle looking down at me and even turned her head and did like this and was like, I want you. That's sexual abuse according to Google. So
at the workplace, I think we have to add that. So
at the workplace, like
location matters, correct, S. Bird?
Well,
we're
it
human.
doesn't necessarily have to be at the workplace, unfortunately.
It's everywhere.
Anywhere, if you're,
It's
I
everywhere.
believe Cuomo has an accusation that happened at a wedding. So
Right.
it doesn't necessarily have to be in a workplace. It is at any moment. You can be in a grocery store and make a woman feel uncomfortable by sexual advances.
But
I
see,
think it's much easier, I think, when you meet someone to just say, hi, how are you? You know, I think that we have to now learn certain language when we approach people that we don't know. I think that that is what is going to need to be the change in our society, because if we don't, then now these accusations will, continue.
But this
And
is the thing.
it's funny how it only, I'm not going to say only, but it's funny how we only hear about it when there's rich men involved. That's funny, man. That's just funny to me. You know, that's why I say it's just something like Buck said. There's something that's fishy,
Can I
man.
say something? Can I just say one thing? How will a man know if a woman wants to hear his little sweet nothing talks? I mean, how will a man know? What are the certain signs? What I mean, if she was with it Tuesday, but then on Friday at the holiday party, he's trying to go back the way he left off at. Maybe I don't know, not making an excuse. But what I'm saying is we have to be real careful on what we accept as abuse and not abuse. Because
I definitely think we're going down a slippery slope. Now, I have to be honest, where
yes, we
anyone
are.
can say anything, and it is hard to prove. Like, you think about abuse with a child, sometimes it's hard to prove. It's their word against an adult. But
Yeah.
I think we're going down a slippery slope when adult women are able to say, he made me feel uncomfortable by saying words without a statement. Like, I understand being afraid of retaliation, because you think about just with racism. When you respond to racism, there is retaliation. But me as an adult woman, I think that we do at times have to speak up so that these men are aware that I'm not interested in your advances. Now, it may be difficult because this could jeopardize our job. It could jeopardize certain things. So I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I think we do have to start speaking up when we are adult women to say, listen, I appreciate that, but I'm not interested in you. Or please, you're making me uncomfortable. That way, at least it gives a man a heads up that I'm not interested in you. Please move on. Now, if he continues, to me, that's sexual harassment. But I feel like he needs to be aware that I'm not interested. And that, that's just my opinion on it.
And it makes sense.
It is a slippery slope, and I do agree with you. The issue is that the women fueling these movements, and a lot of women don't. Now, I'm going to keep it all the way real, and I speak to a lot of women. For a man, and especially what you guys are brainstorming right now, when do I say, what do I say? You have so many different personalities. You have women who, if you are not aggressive enough, then they're like, okay, that's not the man for me, which maybe you are, but now you're afraid to be. So it really is a tough situation, and it is a slippery slope. But the reason for it, and the reason why things are going to be so astringent, is because of the amount of abuse. This happens all the time. Take the bank. I can't even go to Chase and deposit cash in my mother's bank account anymore because there's been so much bank fraud. So they go overboard. That's exactly what's happening now. So, I mean, I agree. I feel like, especially in the workplace, for instance, as long as a statement wasn't blatant disrespect and sexual assault, I feel like a woman should be able to say, please don't speak to me that way. And that could be like a strike or a warning before it goes anywhere else, right? But the other thing about that, where I can't really say that, is, Shanique, the stuff that you're saying that comes so naturally for you, a lot of women are not able to speak for themselves. Nobody taught them to, because of their individual personalities. They can't. I used to be like that. It took me, like, people know me now as obnoxious loudmouth, but that's not how I was born. That's not my nature. I evolved into that. So it's sticky.
I mean, it's like like I said earlier, it's a real touchy subject, but it's really quite simple. And I'm going to explain to you what I mean. It sounds like, we're having trouble, men and women, living in this world, trying to wear whatever we want to wear, say what we want to say, do things we want to do, and not expect those repercussions to come back on us. When we live the way we were intended to live from the Creator, we wouldn't have none of these problems. We have to understand a lot of things. The way we dress is enticing. The way we move is enticing. The nails is enticing. The trimmed up beard, that's all enticing. That's non-Hebrew. So when we live like that, these are the things that happen to us. We have to understand what's really going on, because if we continue to go back and forth, it's never going to get fixed, because we're not living the righteous life according to the Creator. So anything that comes after that that's wrong, we must accept. And this is where we're at now. This is why it's a frenzy. It's happening so much because everybody's involved, everybody's partaking in it, and no one's living according to the way it was supposed to be.
Well, I have to disagree with you for many reasons. So, for one, men have to understand, and I have been uncomfortable in situations. Okay, so I feel like men have to act appropriately. That's all. I feel like if there's a certain thing, certain time, certain place where you don't say certain things. If you're interested in a woman, you can say, hi, may I have your number? Hi. Why can't it be something simple? A lot of times, the things that, just because I have on something seductive or something that's maybe sexy to you, that doesn't give you the right to walk up to me or say anything to me. Just like if they display food on a table in a grocery store, you don't have the right to pick it up and eat it because you're hungry. You have to pay for it. There are levels to things. So if you're attracted to a woman, you may say, hey, are you single? May I have your phone number? I'm saying there's appropriate ways to approach a woman. Sometimes men aren't appropriate. So I understand this thing that's happening because there's been times where I'm in situations where I'm like, that is totally inappropriate. But I may not have said anything because it wasn't a big deal because I didn't have to deal with this man or, on another level. But
so
I
let me ask you a
that,
question. When you're finished, let me know when you finish. I want to ask you a question about that.
Yeah. So I'm saying that we have to understand the language. It's simple. If you want something that is on the table that is for sale, you can pick it up, buy it, and then you eat it. So if you see a woman you're attracted to, you can approach her. Hi, how you doing? Are you single? No. Okay, bye. Good. And that's it. But I feel like there's certain language we have to learn to use. And you shouldn't, just because someone looks sexy or wearing something provocative doesn't give you the right to approach her or think you can say anything because of the way she's dressed.
Right.
Now,
I'll go after Marquise. I got to touch on that.
All right. Now, what I wanted to ask you, S. Bird, you said if a guy approaches you in a way that you didn't like, but you didn't worry about it because you don't have to deal with him again. Now, wonder if that happened with someone that you do have to see again, or say your boss, to be specific. Would you would have had a different approach or different mentality about it? Would have said you're harassing me?
So again, it's a certain wording that is said. So if it's something that makes me uncomfortable, I am a vocal person. So I don't like to feel uncomfortable if it's somebody that I have to interact with. I did have a situation where I was in working with someone and he tried to kiss me, and it was very inappropriate. And I walked away and I just left out of the room. But I did contact him later and I said, listen, we need to talk about what happened, because that was a bit, to me, I respect you as a person, but that can't, like that is inappropriate. That's inappropriate. I'm not, so we had the conversation and I let him know. But like Martine said, some women aren't comfortable being vocal, but it's hard for me. It's hard for me not to be vocal. If I'm uncomfortable, I'm not the person that's going to sit there and just be uncomfortable. I just can't. I'm not.
Well, Shanique, why did you wait till later to call and tell him? Why didn't you address him right then and there?
You know what? And you're right. Because I was like, I felt like it would have been, I don't know how, because I was like kind of upset.
Can I tell you why?
Respected. And so I didn't want to, because I genuinely like the person as a person. So I thought that I probably would have overreacted, or maybe not. Maybe I would have acted appropriately if I would have went crazy, because I felt like I could have went like a little, ratchet, maybe, let's just say. So I wanted to step back and be like, okay, this happened. So let me charge her. Maybe it's something like sometimes you do blame yourself. Like maybe I came across as, I was interested. So maybe I need to say that.
And I asked that for Marquise because that is, I'm sorry, y'all. That is, the question, like, let's look at the bigger picture of why women wait. If you had all that to say over waiting, a few minutes, imagine a woman who waits for years, what she's experiencing. But go ahead with what you were saying, Marquise.
I'm gonna let Bug go, then I'm gonna piggyback off of both of y'all.
I'm gonna say this, I'm not in position to say when a victim should speak out. Me having PTSD, it took me 30 years to even speak about it. Now I pop up like lemon heads. You want to know about it, I'll talk about it. I can talk about it now because I realize everybody on planet Earth has PTSD in some shape or form. I'm gonna go back to the thing Shanique was saying. We have to understand what's really going on. When we place ourselves in a low vibrational situation, low vibrational actions happen. You know what I mean? Low vibrational actions happen. And we have to accept that because there's no way around that, whether it's right or wrong. When we place ourselves in a low vibrational situation, nothing good comes out of that.
What do you mean by that? What's
Being in a low vibration, being in a low vibration means when you, it's energy, man. It's all energy. It's all energy. It's all energy. And we all partake in the good energy and the bad energy. It just depends on what I feel at that moment. Because I can do the same thing twice with two different people, and one will say this and one will say that.
I get it.
You understand what I mean?
Yeah,
So
energies are different. Yes.
energy is different. And when we place ourselves in low vibrational energy, it always ends up, oh, well, she made this allegation or she made this allegation. Because if me and the young lady were on a high vibrational situation, whatever me and her do, nobody would never know. And that's because
can't high vibrations suddenly turn low vibrations though?
Vibrate, well, that depends on the two people that's involved. You know what I mean?
What is being said, you know, and I don't want to go too far. Now I can't remember what you were saying before. I lost it. I try to have a habit of not cutting people off, but then I forget what they say. Okay, you were talking about you were talking about, I guess, the state of things, how people are. You brought up Hebrews and stuff like that. But here's the thing: this is as old as time. So before there were low cut shirts and tight skirts and so on and so forth, this was an issue. Okay, the things that you're talking about, they may contribute to it, they may fuel it, but that is not the source. That is far from the core of the issue. Patriarchy is one of the issues. Okay, women had to fight for power. Okay, they're objectified, over sexualized.
How far back are you going?
Since the beginning of time. And then also you bring up high vibrations and things like that. Sexual assault, sexual abuse happens in all types of situations. And conversely, okay, you have, let's talk about these alternative lifestyles, right? For instance, the swingers and all that stuff. A lot of those places have very astringent rules where there's things that you and I may not even imagine ever doing in our lives, right? But nobody is getting disrespected or assaulted because they're following a level of respect for each other. So there's a lot of things that come into play. It's not as cut and dry as you make it.
No, but what I'm saying is that lifestyle is not the lifestyle that was intended for us to live. That's what I'm saying.
That's fine that you believe that, and I'm not saying that I don't believe it. What I'm saying is that has nothing to do with sexual abuse.
No, but with sexual abuse, right? See, this goes back to the beginning. You know what I mean? This is I wasn't there physically that I can remember to know when it started. I just know I was a victim.
Neither was I.
So we don't know. We really don't know. This could have been a part of the plan from beginning. I mean, we don't know.
Well, I think we know because we've seen it. Like
no, when I mean
parents, our grandparents, everybody is
we know enough.
Right. We know enough that it's been going on for
forever.
Right.
Forever.
And part of the problem is the definition of sexual abuse seems to be changing. You know that
is the definition.
But again, that's
that's probably the most recent. But what was sexual abuse 50 years ago? What did it have the same? I don't know.
Let me just clarify. The definition that I read was sexual harassment. So sexual harassment and sexual abuse are two different things. It's not the same thing.
Okay.
Is that right, Martine?
Sexual harassment falls under sexual abuse. Sexual harassment is more specific.
I'm sorry?
Sexual harassment is more specific.
Okay.
So let me ask you this, Martine. I want to, and I mean, of course we don't know, but we just dialoguing. Now, to piggyback from what I was saying before, why is it that I'm figuratively speaking, but it's facts. I know you don't know, but I'm just saying, how come all of these, one of the reasons why I feel that something is fishy and there's a plan somewhere, why are all of these women waiting for so many years later?
Just
And
gave you a beautiful example
please do. But
with,
all
with
the time,
Shanique waiting to make the phone call.
but that's
Okay,
different. That's different.
it's not different.
Let me tell you
It's
why.
not different. Go ahead. Why?
Let me tell you why it's different. Okay, it's different because she said that she had to. I'm gonna put it in my words. She had to sit back and gather herself and made sure that she was doing it in the right way, making sure she came out right.
That's one of the things.
What's the right way when you?
Am I right, Esberg?
That's what you chose to accept, but that's only one of the
wait,
things.
wait,
Everywhere with it, because
but
I
I'm
think that's the
asking,
first time she
Esberg,
had to think.
is that why you waited? Because you wanted to make sure that you came with the right energy and that you did it the right way.
Well, I think
There's
it
no
was
right
a
way.
multitude of things. I think that I wanted to do it the right way. It was like shocking at the moment. It was like there was a multitude of feelings that went through me.
Mhm.
And so I knew that I had to gather myself. Like, do I say something? Do I, I don't know what all went through me, but I knew that there was a lot of emotion and I didn't want to react in a certain way. So I think that it's just tricky. Why? Because I would have never thought that I would have waited.
What was your?
But it
What
was a matter of like 24 hours that I was like, okay, no, we have to have this conversation because I have to deal with this person, and maybe I really didn't have to deal with them. I could have just cut that person out, was like, no, that's unacceptable. But at the same time, I wanted to let him know that that is something that you can't do. Like no, that's not appropriate. And I'm not accepting that.
Now,
what would be your
Martine,
natural reaction? Like,
she
what is a
waited.
natural
Go ahead,
reaction?
Bob. Go ahead,
The
Bob.
What is the
natural reaction
natural
probably
reaction?
would have been a hit.
But see, that's what's needed.
Her.
That's what's
Now,
needed.
my natural reaction was to be crawling a hole and not eat for a week. Now I've evolved from that, but we're all different.
Different.
And the one thing I want to get through to you, Marquise, is that now I'm not talking about maybe every single incident, like maybe the things going on with Cuomo where it was just word said or whatever. But even then, because it depends on the individual, I feel like that's one of society's biggest issues. We like to blanket everything and we don't respect each other as individuals. There are a lot of people, we all have different faces, we all have different spirits, we all have different personalities, we all have different coping skills. One thing that, and I'm not going to move forward until I get an answer from all of you on this, when sexual abuse or sexual assault occurs, can we all agree that there's some level of trauma as a result? I'm not talking about, if it occurred. If I as a person definitively take it as sexual abuse, sexual assault, is there a level of trauma to me?
I would think so. Yes, I would think so. Me.
I definitely think so.
Yes.
Okay. Let's look at trauma for 1 second, for just what trauma is, right? Think about all the people in your lives like that, like the back of your hand, right? Let's say these people, their mama told them, do not leave your purse in your shopping cart, right? And they have their purse, they're in the supermarket. You could be a grown person, right? But your mama's still gonna tell you what to do, right? You have your purse, maybe you have all your birth certificate, all your valuables in this purse. You're in the supermarket, you leave the purse in the cart, you turn around, you go shopping, and that purse gets stolen. Think about all the people like the back of your hand. Are they all going to react the same way if that were to happen to them?
Of course
Probably not.
No, some of them are going to cry. Some of them are going to fight. Some of them are going to shake everybody in the supermarket down until you got my purse. They might see a person, accuse a person. Some of them will freeze. You ever know somebody who suffers trauma and they freeze? They can't even move. Yeah. Some of them may laugh. There's so many different trauma responses. That's why you get some women like Shanique who say that they would tell, and women like me who say I probably wouldn't tell.
So what's
let
not?
Me ask this though. But let me ask this though.
What's not trauma?
What do you mean? What's not trauma?
It's the same thing.
Okay. The point I'm trying to make is there are different responses. So when you ask, so let's focus on the women who don't tell.
Right.
When you ask why they don't tell, it's because of a traumatic response.
Right.
But years later, 20, 30, 40 years later, I'm not 40.
Okay.
but
So just like I said,
It
today,
happened.
right? Today, I prepared myself where I would do even better than Shanique today, because I would address it on the spot because I worked on myself. You don't think that maybe these people have evolved? You don't think that maybe they were, there's a higher percentage of women who don't even recognize their rape as a rape than women who do and report it.
Say that again.
According to statistics.
Can you say that again, please? I'm sorry.
There's a higher rate of women who don't even realize, either because of lack of education or trauma response, that they were raped. Classic definition of rape, not all these gray areas y'all like to throw out so much. Classic definition of rape, they don't even realize they were raped, more so than the woman who reports a rape.
I want to get back real quick. I want to ask you a question, and then I'm going to piggyback, and it'll be quick. Because you never quite answered the question, that's Bird. You said when you went through this situation with this guy, you said you know you ain't never have to deal with him again, so you brushed it under the rug. That wasn't your words, but that's just the way I'm gonna put it. Now, if it was somebody, like I said, that you had to see every day, or if it was your boss, would have taken that further as sexual harassment?
So no, I
Because
think
he
you
literally tried to
misunderstood me.
touch you.
Right, so it was a misunderstanding. So I said that I had to work with this person, that the one who tried to kiss me, I was working with him. So
But you also said you didn't have to see him no more.
I guess I did. I was saying it was an option to continue to work with him.
Okay,
Yeah,
so but if this happened with your boss or your job, if somebody that you had to see,
then I would have been vocal, right? I feel like I would have
so that would have changed your mentality.
No, I feel like I would have done the same thing again. For me, I have to take a step back, because for me, I have to analyze the situation, because sometimes, and I've been accused to overreacting. And I think that at that moment, I know that the reaction that I gave was going to determine how I move forward. So I think that for me, a lot of times what I do is I take a step back, because I like to analyze or kind of play out the situation as what happened. So if it was someone that I had to deal with and it was a superior, I would have still had the conversation, because for me, I feel like communication is key. Sometimes, and again, sometimes I think as a woman, we kind of feel like, did I do something? Is it something that I said? Did I make him feel that this was appropriate? So I think that sometimes what I do is I second guess myself, and I'll say like, right. So, I might say like, did I, because sometimes people think that I'm flirting and I'm just having a conversation. So for me, communication is important. So what I think about is, okay, let me take a step back and analyze and go over, okay, maybe there's something. So what I did before I contacted him, I actually went through our text messages, because I was like, well, maybe I said something that made him think that this was something different. So when I read through my text messages, I'm like, no, all of these seem very professional. It's nothing that I said that I could see where I was like, okay, this kind of. So I think for me, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't giving off these vibes that I weren't, that I wasn't kind of aware of, if that makes sense. And so that
makes sense.
Say, okay, let me just analyze this and make sure that I'm not saying something that is making him think that he had a chance, or it could be something or something like that. So once I realized, okay, no, I didn't say anything in these text messages. I know the way I carry myself in person, that I'm not one of these aggressive women who are, who may come after a man. So that's what made me kind of go forward that next day, because I'm like, I didn't do anything wrong. And I think, sometimes that's what it was.
But I believe you too, because you even answer the phone professional. It could be Sunday night and you sound like you in the office. So I know that's
professional. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
You said you had to go back and look through your message to make sure that you weren't inappropriate, correct?
Right.
Now, you said, as far as you're concerned, you were not inappropriate. But how would he feel? What if it was the slightest alphabet or the letter that you said that could have sparked something?
Right, but when I read through it, it was all professional. There was nothing.
According to you.
Right, but so you're saying like there was no misinterpretation of, okay, can we get this done on this date? It was nothing to make, like for me, if it's all about business, then it's
Right.
nothing that you could get from sexual. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If I'm talking straight about, okay, I need this printed, I need that, I need this done on this day. Can you do this? All of
Right.
it was very professional. And that's what made me go through it. Like, let me make sure that I haven't said something like, oh, your shoes look nice, your shirt look
But
nice.
but that's attractive. That's attractive. That's attractive.
This is very interesting because my mother always says something to me. Men and women don't speak the same language. Don't even say hello to a man that you don't want attention from, because you're saying hello and they're hearing, hey, daddy, come over here and get some of this. That's not right. And you know what? And this is why sexual harassment falls under sexual abuse, but it's so specific because this is a workplace. I mean, most commonly a workplace issue. We all know how we're supposed to act professionally. So it shouldn't matter how he thinks. He has to take it upon himself. As a matter of fact, if there's anything that she said that could have been assumed to be inappropriate, he should have addressed her. So that's the fine line we're teetering. When you're in the workplace, especially, you need to maintain professionalism. Now, it's great that she chose to do some self-reflection and went back in her text. But honey, even if you had identified something that you deemed so, these movements and these women, they're not trying to hear any of that. They don't care if you said something. You see how you got a little shoulder out right now? Somebody's gonna think that that's sexy. And as overboard as it is, I do understand why it's necessary, because there's too many individuals with different likes and whatever. You understand what I'm saying? And so finally, we're putting the onus on the person who perpetrates the crime or whatever you want to call it.
And I agree. I agree. I know what you're saying, and that makes sense, Bob. But I feel like even if he did feel some kind of way, he should have handled it better. You don't just go and try and kiss. You know, I wouldn't want that for my baby girl. And your baby girl is pretty as a whip. And I know you won't want no dude to just assume.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm trying to say is, sometimes we initiate the abuse and not even realize it. Because we really are just, we're all kind of like, when we're feeling good about our life and we're feeling real natural and just being who I am, like she said, she could be so stern and this is what I need. To another person, that can be attractive. That's his cue. Like, this is what I need in my life, and he might try to shoot his shot.
Shoot his shot. That's what I was thinking.
Okay, you know what that's called? That's called victim blaming. That's called victim blaming.
You made a great point about what your mother said, because I have a very close friend, and he tells me, like, you can't have conversations with men. Because no matter if you're, if it's straight business, if it's this, if you're not, if you have a conversation with them, they may think they have a shot. Right. So when you said that, that's what your mother said, they hear something completely different than what is being said.
So with what you're saying and with what Junebug is saying, where you initiate your own abuse, who is the burden on? The burden is on the woman. And that's what they're trying to stop now. That's why ain't none of us gonna be able to deposit cash at the bank. That's exactly why.
But you understand what I'm saying? It creates more of a problem because everybody's involved with it one way or another. It's just about
it's gonna level out.
I'm sorry.
It's gonna level out.
You know what, Buck? I think
we start holding everybody accountable.
I think you should have used it. Yo, Buck,
hold everybody accountable. Sony, whoever was involved with it. Because if somebody was abusing somebody 500 years ago and 20 years ago, and it's still good from 20 years ago, 500 years ago was still good too then. Because that's where it started at.
But Bug, I'm not speaking for you, but I'm asking, when you said that you can ask for the abuse, do you mean that the woman could be asking for the advancement? Did you mean abuse specifically?
No. Say that again, brother.
Okay, when you said like when you gave a example of how a woman would take care of business, and then the man said, "I need that in my life. I need that in my life," and he shot his shot. You remember that example?
Right.
But you before that, you also said sometimes a woman could invite the abuse and not even realize.
Not even realize. Right.
Yeah, but when you said abuse, did you literally mean abuse, or did you mean the advancement of another man shooting the shot?
I don't even know how to word it. It's like anything's inappropriate. You know, I don't even know how to really word it, brother.
It could be, but that's abuse. That falls under abuse.
It's abuse. Okay. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. You know, they're both effed up. I mean, it's either one or the other, and it's not acceptable. So it doesn't matter.
I understand that, because a woman can't walk through a jail with a miniskirt and not expect some inappropriate. It doesn't make it right, but she can't expect some non-inappropriate remarks. If she gonna walk in,
and the same would apply for the men.
You know what happens? I feel like, why can't men just be responsible for their actions? Why can't they have self-control? Like we said, you can see something that's attractive. You don't always have to respond to it.
But it's not just men. It's
you
both.
don't have to say anything.
I think it's not just.
That's not all men now.
Both need to grab control. It's not just men. It's women and men need to grab control of what's really going on. We can't separate it. It has to be both.
I want to make this clear. It's not every man, because I respect women. So it's not every man.
I mean,
not every man.
Shanique, it's not men should accept it. I think men and women should accept what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. Because they both do.
What is acceptable?
But that's relative.
That's another unspoken. Women abuse men too. Men abuse women, women abuse men. It's not just men. Everybody is in the same pot together. We cannot separate that. It's one big problem on both sides. Address the problem.
That makes sense. It's just that the women, it seems like it's just the see. Listen, Bob.
It seems like the women is what?
Be careful, Marquis.
No, listen. We as men, we ain't gonna say, "Oh, she abused me," and call a cop. That's not our nature. You know what I mean? That's not our nature. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but that's not our nature. But women are quicker, you know, for whatever reason, women are quicker to make that claim. And that's why we see it on the TV so much. Yeah, men get abused, but that ain't our style.
In your personal life,
that's not our style.
When you witness inappropriate behavior, be honest.
Who you talking to?
I'm talking to both of you. Be honest.
Say that again.
In your personal life, where you have witnessed inappropriate behavior of a sexual nature, be it verbal, physical, whatever, what you heard happen. Has it been the perpetrator more men or women?
More women.
The perpetrator?
Yes. For me.
Well, I'll answer that for me. Fortunately, I have never been in that position and seen that. So
for me.
So I can't really answer that question. I haven't been in that position.
Perpetrator, when you say perpetrator, you mean who initially started the inappropriate behavior, correct?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For me, it's been women. Every day, it happens to me every day, at least 20 times a day.
I think on average, people will say that it's more men, and this is why it's such an issue and why the focus is more so on women. But I do agree that it is an issue across both genders.
But I'm gonna say this though, the reason why, like, I would never say this, because like Marquis said, that's just something men don't do. But every man will tell you.
Abuse me, baby. You know what I mean? That's how we are. You know what I'm saying? That's how we are. We ain't so sensitive.
To be quiet while you make your point. Put him on mute.
But
because he is not giving anything to your credit.
Right, Bob.
I don't know. That was directed towards me. I didn't hear it.
No, I was saying you might want to tell Marquis to go on mute because he's not offering anything to your credit.
Oh, I mean, you know, honestly.
but he's telling the truth. I mean, you're an anomaly. If what you're saying is so, I'm gonna believe what you're saying, but that's not common.
I mean, but this is the thing. There's only one way to actually know. and we can put a camera on you or I, and we'll see what we actually go through every day, and then we can make a determination of what was sexual abuse, sexual harassment, or not.
So you're
Yeah, but
saying
we
you
ain't
get
gonna
sexually
tell. See, that's
harassed.
what I'm saying. We
So-
ain't gonna tell.
So
As
June,
men.
don't you get sexually harassed every day, you're saying? 20
I mean, I don't know.
You may not tell
You're
personally, but we're talking about what you witnessed as well. What are you seeing on TV even?
Everything. It's all over. It's all over. It's on every other channel. If you go to the local bodega and mommy's in there, hola papi, hola baby, that's sexual harassment or abuse. I'm not there. I'm here to get me a pack of Skittles or a Black and Mild. My name is Nate. It's not old Poppy and Nate and baby. I mean, we need to understand everybody has their hand in this one way or another.
That's a good point, though.
Fix it.
That's a good
The only way
point.
we're gonna fix it is if we all say, you know what, I did my part, I won't do it again. You did your part, I won't do it again. Until then, we're always going to be pulling each other back and forth. And guess who's making money off of this? The people who started this.
So let me ask y'all this.
I'm not disputing that it exists. I'm disputing that it's as much as what women go through. That's
We
what I'm
won't know.
disputing.
We really won't know until we mic up. and
We
then-
know if we're real with ourselves, we know
You probably right,
it
Joe. You
happens
probably
more
right,
to
Joe.
women, and the burden is more so put on the woman
But that
because
goes back to what you said.
she's generally blamed. She did something to make whatever happened to her happen to her.
No,
And
no,
that's
no,
not
no,
fair.
You proved that on this
no,
Zoom call.
no,
And that's
no, no,
not
no.
fair.
What I said, it takes two. She could have did something not knowingly knowing. Just like a man could have said something not knowingly knowing. We all do things. We all say things. We have it. We have to be real with that. If
There
we're gonna
is
get
nothing that you can do that's going to dictate my actions as far as have me out of control of myself respond to you. Even if I can't control my emotions, it's still me doing it. So that's something that I have to fix.
That's knowledge of self right there.
What you're doing is blaming the victim. You're blaming the person.
no, we're all everybody's a victim.
It doesn't.
Everybody's
You
a
don't like
victim.
how it sounds, but that's what you're doing.
No, but everybody's a victim. How can I blame the victim when everybody's a victim? So
No,
there
I
goes that
disagree.
victim.
Everyone isn't a victim.
Everyone's a
There are
victim.
victims and there are perpetrators.
No. What I'm saying is, okay,
Teen like
there's levels to this sexual abuse. It's levels to it. Okay, it is. Some people go to the extreme. Some people don't, but it's still abuse. According to what we're going through right now, everything is
I see what
abuse.
he's saying, but I see what he's saying, but it goes back to we ain't gonna say it, we ain't gonna make a big deal out of it. That's the difference.
Some men will, but
You
naturally,
know, but most men ain't even gonna sweat that. It's just like most men won't call their cops on if a woman hit their man, if a woman smacked their man, they ain't gonna call the cops.
That's
No.
true. That's true. But
So-
also
so-
to your
but
point
it's the same
earlier.
thing.
To your point earlier, though, a lot of men don't even recognize it as sexual abuse because of
Exactly.
culture.
That's what I was. Now you understand what I'm saying.
She looks puzzled. I don't know. Okay,
Well,
so listen.
which part of what you were saying?
Okay, so now listen. Apparently, this is a good conversation because everybody is sharing emotions. Now, I want to move on. And now I want to start with you, S. Bird. And you might have even, Martine, you might have even said it about the past is why it is now. And you could be right because a long time ago, I was told by a lawyer that these domestic violence cases were made by like in other words, it's domestic violence is a felony now. I remember when I was growing up, if my mother and father was fighting, the police would say, take a walk, come back in an hour. Now, all a woman got to do is say he hit her and she's going to jail.
No, it goes both ways. It goes
Vice
both.
versa.
Yeah, it goes both
Today.
ways. But yes, it goes both ways. But what I'm saying is, the lawyer told me because of the past abuse of women. This is
Right.
why the laws are so strict now, because of the past.
Yes, yes.
So this is what I wanted to ask you, S. Bird. Do you feel that is fair, even though that is true? Do you feel that is fair that when a man is accused of this type of stuff, that he has to be proven guilty? I mean, he has to be proved that he didn't do it before they can prove that he did do it. And Governor Cuomo is there's no proof. He admitted that he might have did things that the women felt were appropriate, but he didn't realize it. But that is not proof of sexual harassment. They don't even have no proof. His own party wants him to what's the word, impeach him. But there's no proof. So how come he has to go through all of this and you don't even have proof?
See,
so how you feel about that, S. Bird?
Yeah, so I do think it's problematic for someone to be proven guilty, guilty until proven innocent. But the thing is, men have been misbehaving for so long. I think that society is now fed up with what has happened in the past. And so many women have remained silent. So many women have been victims. So now it is this thing where women, why would women say this? Because we've been victimized for so long. Now people just believe it because there's just way too many stories of what happened. Now, I do not agree with being guilty until proven innocent, because we've seen things like, you think about the Jussie Smollett situation where he pretended like someone beat him up and whatever, that those accusations. So people lie, right? So for me, I am uncomfortable with this because now they're targeting men. Pretty soon they could be targeting Black people. Just think about us, being in a situation with a white person and they all of a sudden we did something to them and we never did it. Because you know what I'm saying? It's just a slippery slope. If anyone can say anything at any point and you're now guilty, that's scary. So I don't agree with the innocent until proven guilty mentality. But again, I think we have to be conscious of what it all really means. I think what people are trying to say is behave yourself. I think that really is the message to men. Behave yourself in a manner that women aren't always uncomfortable. Because you're in a position of power, you shouldn't say these things. I think hopefully it will train men to behave in a better way. And I'm not saying all men behave, in inappropriate ways, but there are a lot. So hopefully it'll just put people on a path to behaving better in all situations. And if someone you're attracted to, if you, say something, I'm interested in you. Can I have your phone number? She'll say no. Maybe she will, and then she doesn't answer. All I'm saying is it needs to be a very simple way that's not sexual in nature when you approach women.
But this is all I'm saying, right? As a victim, right? Listening to you, I don't sound like a victim. I sound like a second-class victim. It's not just men. I was victimized by a woman. We have to recognize it's not just
you were a child. You're talking, this is different.
I'm still a victim.
Right, but listen to what I'm saying. You were a child when this happened. So it's about authority, right? We talked about different types of sexual harassment. A man, what we're talking about, Cuomo, his situation is he was in a position of power and it was in a workplace. Most of his incidents were in a workplace. So all I'm saying is that what you're talking about, you saying that you were comfortable. You wanted this, you were fine.
I'm still a victim. I'm still a victim.
Right, you were still a victim. But I feel like we're talking about two different situations.
No, a victim's a victim. That's how you get
about Cuomo,
but you didn't act on it. So
but I'm still according to Google, I'm a victim.
You're still right. I know that. I feel like
so hold on, but when you're speaking about, you can't just say men have to. It's both.
Right, but I'm saying I'm saying some men are abused by women. I'm not saying, I know to me it sounds like you are happy that you were a victim. So you could be one of the few that's a victim.
I mean, this is what I'm saying. Back then I didn't know, I didn't care.
Right.
But as I got older and understood, then I realized I was a victim. So now when I'm hearing it and we're trying to, fix the problem, we can't just say, well, men have to do this and men. It's both. It's both.
Right, but I'm
You
saying
don't-
it's not traditional, and it's not
It's
traditional.
still both. It
But
doesn't matter. It's still
It
both.
does matter, because I'm
How?
saying that it matters because it's not traditional. Like, yes, men are victims, some, and I'm not saying they're not, but I'm saying that the reason why they are going after men because this is traditional. Yes, men have been victims too, but it is a fact. Even when we talk, Martine, yeah, go ahead, Martine.
I'm gonna go get a water. I'll be right. Look, she ready.
Oh, no,
boy.
no, no. You need to sit right here for this, okay?
I'm listening.
While we're asking why women wait so long, right? Because the thing that I feel like that's not getting through to you, Junebug, is that it's more. I'm not even gonna argue with you over what happened, because we don't even know about all the allegations. It's exposed more when the man is the perpetrator. Okay,
Right.
so until male victims speak up, and when they speak up, I'm going to be in Marquise's face and wait for him to ask, why did they take so long to speak up? But until more males speak up, we have to go with what's being exposed. That's the reason why so much weight is being put on the male perpetrator, because there's a revolution right now with female victims.
I understand that, but what I'm
And
saying,
it's simply that. And yes, you are correct, but what we're talking about right now is men being perceived as guilty until proven innocent. That's what she was responding to directly. And again, the reason why there's so much weight on that is because the male perpetrators are the ones who are exposition right now.
Yes, but as a woman, you know it goes both ways. So when you're representing the cause, why are you leaving that out?
Because okay, it's kind of like
it's probably because
it's kind of like the Black Lives Matter movement, right? This, as soon as Black people started speaking up for themselves, all of a sudden they started saying all lives matter. All of a sudden, the statistics on white males, and more white males get shot than Black males. That's a fact, right? But why are you bringing that up at a time when we're trying to shine a light on the Black males, especially conversely? You understand what I'm saying? Instead of coming together, perhaps you're making it's almost like you say, oh, well, it's all right that Black men are getting shot because white men get shot too. Why isn't the rage being, well, white men and Black men get shot? You understand what I'm saying? So I feel like that's what's happening here. Yes, it does happen to men, but what we're talking about to men, but what we're talking about today is women. Now, I will sit here and validate you all day long. If you have a Zoom now where you're talking about male victims, I'm there.
And you know
But
what? Y'all sparked the light, especially what S. Bird say, because, and I talked to you about this, Martine, but okay, so y'all sparked the light. So women, how could I put this? Society is giving women the benefit of the doubt because of the history of abuse with women. So society is giving them the benefit of the doubt to the point where we're going to believe it until you can prove you didn't do it. See, I don't know. That's as simple as it sounds. I didn't get that until this conversation. Society is giving women the benefit of the doubt because of what they've been through over the years. Does that sound correct?
Yes, but there also is a narrative too. You believe because so many women were not believed. Okay, and let me because I looked this up for you, Mr. Marquise. Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
Less than 1% of alleged rape cases lead to prosecution. Less than 1%. Because what you're talking about, no matter how much shine is on it, these high profile cases, that's a drop in the bucket. Okay, and the reason why it's at the forefront is because it's a high profile case and you can't pay money anymore to cover this stuff up. There's too many people who are educated who are going to speak out now.
That makes look. Go ahead, Esper. Look like you wanted to say something.
No, I'm just listening right now.
Oh, well, and that makes sense. Something you said, because it's like if we do ignore, it's like this in a way. If you get pulled over and you don't have no insurance and you don't have no license, and then the cop lets you go, and then you kill somebody, or accident, you hit somebody and he dies. Now that cop is wrong. He lets you go. But if you ignore the women, if you ignore these pleas and you don't take them as serious, and the women end up getting killed, you wish you would have took that extra step.
And there are a lot
That's
of
my
women
thinking.
who've been killed.
And that's what I'm saying. And that's
There's-
so
There's
that's
a
what
lot
I'm
of
saying.
cases, even now. There's that young lady, I think in Texas, who was in the military. Like this spans across so many different demographics and communities.
And that's what I'm saying. As a society, and you said it one time conversation we had, Martine. Some of the men are just gonna fall in the trenches. You know, they're just gonna be blamed.
Casualties of war.
Exactly. The women are getting the benefit of the doubt. A light has shone.
I have faith in you, Marquise.
This is my whole take on it. You know, if we're going to address these situations, we address them all. We leave no stone unturned because it's not appropriate. And that's just point blank, period. It's unfortunate that my Black sisters, my sisters, women, have been more victims than men on record because men don't speak. But on record, and this is what we're going with, more women have been victimized by men than men on record. But until you address the problem, it doesn't matter about the record. You just addressing the problem. And once you address the problem, you won't have a problem on either side anymore. Because if we address the women in 15, 20 years, we're going to have the same thing with the men coming out, making all these allegations because we did not address the problem. We addressed—
That makes sense. That makes sense.
And this is what we're seeing.
There's so many people who try to represent victims that won't speak, and it goes nowhere because the victim has to eventually come forward.
Okay, yes. But then this is what makes it a touchy subject because just like some women don't even, like you said, some women don't even know that they're a victim of sexual abuse. They just don't know.
Right. So I think that's more so the case with men though, because of culture. So let's do this while Marquise is taking his little break. Let's do this. Because one thing that's not sitting right with me is I feel like we never answered the question. And that was why I was asked to even come on. Okay, right. Why do women wait so long? I think we need to answer that question, right? Let's just take, I have some answers to that. And then let's just take everything that we're talking about. I'm not trying to take over your meeting. This is a suggestion. Let me know if you agree, Shamika and Marquise. Let's take all of this and we're gonna flip it and the woman is the perpetrator. Can we agree to do that?
Sure.
Yes, ma'am.
Whatever we need to do.
Okay, so I would like to address why women wait. Okay, and I mean, I know these things for myself, but I made sure that I went and I did my research so I could answer this question. Okay.
So long. Can we put that in there? So long, because there's a difference. Years.
Wait, so long. Years. Okay.
But I think you addressed that already, though.
No, I did not. So where we left off was the trauma response. Okay. Right. So we went through the various responses, how trauma presents, right? And then we started to zero in on the women who don't say anything. Okay. So it happened to you. You kept it to yourself. Maybe you told your close friend, your mama, and you asked them not to tell. It never was reported. And now years later, usually when the person who offended you is in a place of power or maybe graduating to a place of even higher status than they are, now you decide to come out and report, right? So initially, women don't report. There's something that's called adaptive indifference or avoidance, okay? And that's I'm gonna move on and act like this never happened to me attitude. This is called a coping skill.
Yes, okay? Very psychological.
Skills can be positive or they can be negative. Okay. Yeah. but a coping skill helps you to cope and move on with your life. So that's one coping skill, okay? Then there's denial. Not I'm deciding to move on. I don't even believe this happened to me, okay? There's initially you were alone, and now you found a new tribe of people who are also survivors or were victims or are victims, right? And now you feel empowered, right? You were initially uneducated on it. Maybe you didn't even realize you were raped or violated. But through education and empowerment, you're a new person now. That could take 30 years,
Forever.
right?
Forever.
Then there's self-blame. Okay, there's self-blame and blame from the outside. Sometimes people you love and trust. Your own mama might say, well, it's because of that shirt you were wearing, right? So now you feel so ashamed, you're not gonna step out. Then what else too? There's that line that you cross. Once you report, you know, you may be a person whose lifestyle you don't want exposed. But once you report, they're going to expose everything about you, right? And maybe you're at a time in your life where you're so ashamed about what you're doing, or you haven't done enough good things that maybe 10, 20 years later, right? Now, all of these could lead to feelings of anger. And I cannot see this person succeed knowing what he did to me.
Right.
So it could, at the end of the day, be revenge.
Right.
Right? Now, no matter what you think of that, that still doesn't take away from the fact that that happened to the person. The reason why we ask, why do they take so long, is because we're questioning whether or not it really happened to them. Yes or no?
Yep, like he said.
I'm gonna say no. I think, all right, let's look at it like this. All right, we all live in a different part of the country, right? For every liquor store, take that liquor store out and put in a awareness of sexual abuse. Okay. We need to make it aware. Point blank, period. That's why women are not comfortable speaking about it right away. There's not enough avenues for them to feel comfortable talking about it right away. Point blank, period. If we're going to attack the problem, let's attack the problem.
And as these things are now developing, they're becoming more comfortable.
So we need to close down liquor stores and put in sexual abuse awareness programs. For every corner we have, it needs to be on every corner because it happens that frequently.
Okay. And Martine, you just I learned, you know what you just said was very helpful, because I understand. My question is answered now. Because when you were saying these things, you know, I'm sure y'all heard of a couple of years ago scandal with Africa Bambaataa, correct?
Yes.
And Bambaataa's a good friend of mine. You know, we spend a lot of time together, and I ain't never seen none of that, right? So it questioned me, why would homeboy, if this really happened, why would he come out all of these years later? Does he want money? Is he broke? You know what I mean? You know, that's just the normal question that I was asking, you know, why all of this time? But when because nobody broke it down to me. And the things that he was saying is what you was just reading. Mm-hmm. He was saying that's what he was basically saying, not word for word, but that's what he was basically saying. And now it makes sense. You know what I mean? Now
I love to see. And this is why we need to have more forums like this. We need, and then too, I like where Shanique went with a lot of it, where as far as, I don't want to say it because I don't want to be a victim blamer, but we do have a responsibility too as women. Like even in the workplace, there's certain things that we can see. Like if I saw a man say something that was a little questionable, but he adjusted his behavior when either it wasn't received well or whatever, I think that he should have a chance.
And not every man is a gentleman. Y'all got to keep that in mind. Not every man is a gentleman.
So I think that in that regard, we do need to step up, but it is going to go to a place where it's just overboard, and there are going to be a lot of innocent men who get in trouble for gray areas and such, and even false reporting, because false reporting is definitely a thing. It definitely is a thing, and I definitely like to address it, because I feel like the more false reports there are, the more actual victims are discredited.
That's right.
And you know what? And that goes beyond abuse. I think women get the benefit of the doubt in all categories because false reports go beyond sexual harassment. It goes with domestic violence. I know many people who got lied on, and police. It does go both ways, but the police are losing their guns and license because the wife said he hit her and he never hit her and had to go to jail, and now his career. So women do just get the benefit of the doubt. And it's not just sexual harassment, but again, like we spoke, because they get the benefit of the doubt because of the history. Because of the history. So I learned something. This for me, this wasn't only a debate. I learned something. You know what I mean?
Okay, so let me just give you some numbers before I
sorry.
exit off of this and we
I didn't mean to interrupt.
this. Oh no, you didn't. No, we're good. So there's a nonprofit organization called RAIN. They're out of Austin, Texas, I think, either Austin or San Antonio. They're the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network. They're the largest network fighting sexual assault. And they did a study on why victims choose to report and why victims choose not to report. Okay. So in their study, all the women that they studied, I don't know how many women that there were, but they said the victims who reported, 28% did so to protect the household or victim from further crimes by the offender. So I want you to listen to the reasons why they did and compare it to the reasons why they didn't, okay? So they did it to protect somebody, right? Themselves or somebody else. 25% to stop the incident or prevent recurrence or escalation. 21% to improve police surveillance or they believe they had a duty to do so. You see how this stuff is individual and personal values? 17% to catch, punish, prevent offender from reoffending. 6% gave a different answer or declined to answer, and 3% did so to get help or recover loss. Now, for the ones who did not report, directly answering your question, why do women not report or wait so long to report? You have to not report in order to wait so long to report, right? 20% feared retaliation. 13% believed the police would not do anything to help. 13% believed it was a personal matter, not to be put on public display. 8% reported to a different official. 8% believed it was not important enough to report. 7% did not want to get the perpetrator in trouble.
Sound like family.
2% or a boss. 2% believed the police could not do anything to help, and 30% gave another reason or did not would not answer the question.
What was the what percentage was it that they didn't want to get the victim in trouble? What percentage is that?
7%. So that's pretty low.
Yeah, it's real low. That's unbelievably low.
You know what? But listen, 7% is low, but you got to understand that's probably 5 million people.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right about
it?
it?
A lot of people.
Yeah.
So, what are you saying, Junebug?
I mean,
you think it's higher than that?
I don't like those numbers because I know
listen, you got to take into consideration too the 30% who didn't respond. A lot of them may fall into that. Maybe they were ashamed to say that. Yeah,
but what I'm saying is, just from where I live at, they should have did a survey right here.
Okay, you could do that.
No, but what I'm saying is though, like, so this is why those numbers. Some people say, "Oh, that's bad," but it's not too bad. No, it's bad. Go to the right neighborhood. Certain neighborhoods are going to have certain numbers.
That's true.
Especially those neighborhoods with more liquor stores. Especially those neighborhoods that are more poverty stricken. Like I said, if we want to target the problem, there is no number on the problem. The problem is the problem, and it must be eliminated. That's why
I'm just shedding some light on the answer to answer why they may wait so long.
It's sad to me because I can go right in my courtyard and know 5 to 10 women who've been victimized, and that's just.
I understand. It's just a survey. It's like Family Feud. They just do a survey. They're not asking the whole world. They just asking a certain amount of people.
They when you put those numbers into the universe, people expect those numbers to stay what they are. Those are not accurate numbers.
Well, you can't even, of course, they're not accurate numbers because we don't even know the number of people they asked the question. So if they took 100 or 200 or 500 people,
That
it's
automatically.
just giving you an idea. It's an estimate. It's in
Yeah.
like when you go for a job, or what if you're getting something fixed and they give you an estimate on this could be the price. If it's something else, it could be more. It's an estimation of
Yes.
something that happened. So I like the numbers because it just gives us an idea. Like, and it could be off, it could be, more, it could be less.
It doesn't.
It gives you an idea.
It doesn't. It
Okay,
doesn't.
well, again, it's an estimate. It's an estimate. An estimate is just what that is.
I'm saying is right, because those numbers don't reflect those undocumented immigrants that are going through the same thing.
Yeah, it can't reflect it because they're not technically.
But it's happening. It's happening. It's happening. And
Well,
that's
we can't survey the whole world. I think that the point is now, regardless of whether how accurate the numbers are, it leads you to say, okay, maybe these women are telling the truth, because now I can rationalize and say that this supports that a woman could actually have been violated and took long to report. That's it. Like, don't get too caught up on specifics.
No, all I'm saying is, right, this is what I'm saying right now, right? My Black sisters right now can rewrite history books. Right now. It's a problem worldwide. Everywhere I go, it's a problem. We want the verbiage and wordage remixed. We want this to stand for what this is. Right now, rewrite history the way it's supposed to be written. My Black women right now have that power to rewrite history, write it accordingly, write it accurately.
But what is accurate? What is that? Everybody has an opinion.
You can't survey the whole world.
But what I'm saying, it's so widespread. It's so widespread.
Across every community, every community experiences the same thing. So they can't, and what Martina's saying, you can't go and survey every person in the world. You can't do that. So that's why they give you an estimation of what.
But you don't need to survey the whole world.
Well, that's what it sounds like you're saying.
No, what I'm saying is the numbers are so astronomical, there's no need to even have a survey. Rewrite history.
So tell me.
Rewrite history to say what? I'm confused.
Regarding what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, what can be done, what cannot be done. Right now, rewrite the book on what's acceptable and what's not acceptable.
Because I mean, it's being rewritten, and we could take the reins and do so, but it's being rewritten. And I'm going to tell you, like, when I talk to my kids, I make sure I address boys, because one thing that I can't stand is we're so ready to lock up children, but we don't educate children. We don't tell them these things. This is not being taught in schools. And what I tell my boys is err on the side of caution. Them days when you were a player and you had a girl hemmed up against the wall by the locker, they're no more. Don't take those chances with your freedom.
Right. Right. That's exactly. So as we wrap this up, what are our final thoughts? And I think I would like to start with Marquise. Do you want to start with your final thoughts and then go from to Martine and then Junebug?
Okay, well, my final thoughts were, thank you for coming. It was very informative. And some of the things that the lady said, because it's a different perspective. And from the survey that Martine wrote, and for some of the things that you said, I heard a guy say personally, so I don't even think it's a man-woman thing. I think it's the trauma, it's the event. So those things you read could happen to anybody. And I see that now because I seen it personally. I heard it personally. So I learned something. And I also learned that society gives the women the benefit of the doubt. That's why they innocent until proven guilty, seemingly. So I learned a bulb went out in this small brain. Can you dig it? Go ahead, Martine.
Okay, well, first and foremost, thank you so much for making this space. Thank you for listening. I think that at the end of the day, no matter how well this conversation went, there are some things we're just not going to agree on, right? But we can still work together. I'm telling you, Nathaniel, I'm waiting for you to set something off, and I'm there. You listen, you get my number from Marquise. I'm there. I will support you, because it is true that these issues are across both genders. But again, until victims start speaking up, no matter how long it takes them to do so, we can't do anything about it. Until spaces are provided such as this, we can't do anything about it. So I thank you. I thank you all for listening. I thank you for admitting that maybe what you thought before you came was incorrect, and now you see something differently, because this is how we're going to build and grow. So we need to keep having these conversations, and I would just encourage all of y'all to not stop here. We need to have these conversations at work. I mean, at my job alone, I'm so amazed at the changes that were made after George Floyd. I'm so amazed. Like, I saw Candace, whatever her name is, go and defame George Floyd and talk about who he was a criminal. All those things were true. One thing that I could say about that woman, Candace Owens, she's not going to lie. Whatever comes out of her mouth, facts, she's very educated. They're true. Now, her perception of them, that's a whole different thing. But to me, for a criminal to have brought on such a movement and make so much change in the world is beautiful, because regardless of whether or not you're a criminal, you still are have the right to due process. You shouldn't be judged and fried on the streets, right? So it's the same thing. We need to continue these conversations outside of here as well. And if we want to kind of lessen the blow and reduce the amount of casualties of war, we definitely need to do it. We need to step up and Shanique, empower women to be able to say, simply, you're making me feel uncomfortable. Because to me, I believe a man deserves that chance. Now, if he persists after that, that's a totally different thing. So those are my final thoughts. We need to definitely keep this rolling.
Go on, girl.
So thank you for having me.
Thank you for being. You always come through, Bob.
I mean, every subject I want to touch on, because there's a problem within everything, and what I love about this movement is I'm finally, I witnessed my grandmother get whooped to death by my grandfather. You know what I mean? Every night for no reason, and now that cannot happen. So that's progress. You know what I mean? But now that the door is wide open, we need to dissect the problem while we can, is what I'm saying. There's a problem. The women, I mean, it's incredible what was done to them, and it's now being heard of for the first time. People are looking like this now. So now that the attention is there, let's really dissect why these things happen and correct it for the future. Because if not, the next 20 years, then the men are going to have their run. And then after that, then the immigrants are going to have their run. And then after that, it's just going to, the dogs are going to have their run, and the cats. And it's just never going to end. And we did all of this work for nothing. We still never addressed the real problem. I like to dissect things. Once there's an issue and the door is wide open, we can't just open the door and expect. See, in my household, no one can say can't. That word does not exist. They can't even speak that into existence. So once there's a movement, we must go in even harder and dissect why this movement needs to become a movement. Because the issues are very deep. And everyone is gonna have to hold their blame in it when it's all said and done. And that's how we get to perfection.
How about you, S. Bird?
So for me, I think that it is important for us to walk away understanding that we all have trauma. I think that leaving this situation, we understand that women have a voice now. We have always played the background. I think that is what society is trying to improve, how women are treated in society. We know that we couldn't vote. There were things that women just couldn't do. Now we can head households, we can run companies, we can do all these things.
You can play football.
I'm sorry?
You can play football.
Right. We can do all these things. So I think this is just a way to make sure that girls don't feel less than. But thank you all for joining us. And I definitely look forward to keeping this conversation going.
Well, thank you for making it happen, because you're the nucleus. So I applaud you and I thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for zooming in, Martine, keeping your word. Bug, you always keep your word. So, and listen, we all are thinking people. So Martine, if you have a subject you want to speak about, Bug, if you have a subject you want to speak about, I'll bring it to S Bird. And if she feels it's relevant or necessary, for lack of a better term, let's talk about it. We all thinking people, and all of our perspectives are different. So that's good. You dig? All right, y'all. So thank you very much. And S Bird, I'll be in touch. And Martine and Bug, God willing, I'll be in touch. And enjoy your week. And thank you so much. And everybody kept their word. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you
Have
so
a great
much for
night,
having
everyone.
me.
All right.
Bye, Nat. Later, Nat.
All right, man.